Hey, Browns fans, Spencer German with you live from Berea, where the Browns obviously wrapped up practice earlier today as they get ready for their Week 16 matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals. Getting close to the end of the season here, and preparation certainly wrapped up today as the Browns look to get win number 4 and spoil a potential playoff chance for the Bengals, who need some help to get into the postseason. But that's the role that they're playing at this point in the year. I'm Spencer German. Happy to be with you. And it was a mostly uneventful day today in Berea until the very, very end of the day when Myles Garrett finally was able to speak to us in the media and kind of dropped the bomb on us. We have some injury updates to give you as well, which we'll get into. But I do think this is the more pressing part of the conversation to sort of start with here, because Myles last week mentioned, after hearing the comments to Jeremy Fowler from Jimmy Haslam about how they're going to exude patience and they still trust Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry to be the leaders for this franchise. He not that he reversed course, like he still says he wants to be with the Browns, but for the first time during his time here in the NFL and in Cleveland, he left the door open on a chance or the opportunity for him to potentially leave this franchise at some point if their goals do not align. And that starts for him this offseason, where he explained that he is expecting the organization to basically lay out a plan of some sort that shows how they're going to sort of put this team in position to be a competitive franchise that can make playoff runs and compete for Super Bowls and championships, because that is the phase of his career that he is in. And if those two things don't align, if what his priorities are don't align with the organization's priorities, and they were to go through quote unquote a rebuild, that's not something that he wants to be part of. He flat out said in his own words that he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild at this point in his career. Again, it's a pretty notable thing because he's never said that specifically before. He's also never left the door open specifically before for him to play elsewhere. But that was something that he did as well, where he basically alluded to this idea that, like, it's possible if they can't sort of see eye to eye on things, that he would maybe not finish his career with the Browns, despite that being what he wants. And I do want to make that clear. That is the thing that he wants. He does want to stay here. He doesn't want to go anywhere, but he has some priorities and some things that he wants the organization to sort of show him or prove to him. And if he doesn't get those things, then he, I guess, is leaving that door open. I'll let you hear it from his own words, but this was some pretty powerful stuff, a bold sort of stance being taken by the Browns' star player, Myles Garrett.
I'm just wondering, why is it so important for you to remain with the Cleveland Browns and finish your career here, as opposed to maybe having an opportunity to join an absolute Super Bowl contender at some point in your career?
Well, for me, I mean, first of all, I want to win, and I want the Browns to be able to put me and us in position to win. And I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win right now. And I want that to be apparent when the season's over and we have those discussions. I want them to be able to illuminate that for me, illustrate that for me, so that can be something that I can see in the near future. Because that's all we want to do. I'm gonna stay loyal to a team that show loyalty to me and faith in me by drafting me. But we have to do, at the end of the day, what's best for us. So if we have that alignment where this is something that is still possible in the near future, winning, going deep in the playoffs, putting a great defense out there, having a time of possession, running game offense, getting all the guys back, and I think that would really keep my mind at rest, keep me settled, and not just mine. A lot of the guys on the defense, the D line, around the team, but we have to continue to take strides forward. Not just as players, but from top down.
So I'll play you a second clip here in just a second where he actually says the line about But possibly he could play elsewhere. But what I honestly think was the second biggest thing he said in all this was sort of towards the end of that clip there. He's laying out like what he thinks works for this organization. He basically, as an indictment on Deshaun Watson, as there a blatant indictment on Deshaun Watson as there ever could be. He basically said like the way that they won prior to Deshaun getting here, with the run game sort of being the focal point and playing possession style football, that's what works. And I mean that to me is fascinating, and it's a pretty powerful thing to hear Myles Garrett say that he now has opinions on the style of offense that they should play, and it goes against, it's counterintuitive to everything that they've basically tried to build up around Deshaun Watson over the last 3 years. It's been all about getting Deshaun to an offense that works for him and throwing the football a lot more. And Myles is saying like, let's go back to what was working prior to that. So sort of a suggestion there, at least a hint on maybe where he thinks the quarterback situation needs to go, and that it maybe doesn't revolve around Deshaun Watson anymore. He elaborated on the quarterback conversation a little bit more in this next clip. But yeah, like I did think that it was pretty telling that he's out here talking about, the role the offense needs to play in all this, and it's not just one side of the ball. It's like, I got to see the plan, and you'll hear him talk more about just the quarterback situation as well, and what that kind of looks like, and how he wants to see a plan for what direction they're taking that position as well.
They have to show you that they have a sound plan going forward, that you want to know, like, what are we doing at quarterback and how are we going to get out there and contend again next season?
Absolutely. As uncertain as it is from the outside looking in, it's uncertain for us as well. So the DTR is the solution, or someone else's. It's got to be drawn out. There's got to be a plan of action, and just got to know where things are going.
If that vision didn't align, could you see yourself not being a Cleveland Brown?
I mean, it's a possibility, but I want to be a Cleveland Brown. I want to play here. I want to end my career here. But if we choose to do a rebuild, and it's 2, 3, 4 years out, I want to be able to compete and play at a high level, play meaningful games, and be playing past January.
Again, it's the first time Myles is saying publicly that he could see himself playing elsewhere. And you heard the first answer there as well, where he kind of gave his thoughts on the quarterback position. And again, I just can't reiterate enough, like the fact that he has opinions on the offense and what style has worked in the past versus what hasn't, kind of gives you some insight into how he at least feels about how this whole situation with Deshaun Watson has gone down, how the team obviously fared with him at quarterback this year. And if Myles Garrett is saying those things, who's one of the faces of this franchise, I think it's a clear indicator of what direction the team needs to go. Obviously, I've said it before. I think Deshaun Watson is probably going to be here next year just because of the nature of his contract. It makes it an impossibility to just completely cut ties with him. But in what capacity, I guess, remains to be seen. And Myles kind of makes that clear. Like, they got to map out a plan for quarterback that makes sense for him and prioritizes winning right now and competing for Super Bowls and playing into January and beyond. Some pretty powerful stuff, again, some pretty bold stuff from Myles Garrett on a day that was pretty mundane otherwise. And yeah, I think it now sort of raises this question about what is the team's plan going into the offseason. They have a ton of questions to answer, and the quarterback maybe being chief among them. And it's going to sort of be an interesting now couple months ahead once the season does go final. Will Myles Garrett be included in those conversations? Are they going to sort of show him that they are prioritizing winning? Are they going to show him that they have a plan to put winning first over a rebuild? Because it doesn't sound like Myles Garrett wants to stick around for something like that that's going to take 2, 3, 4 years potentially to get them back in contention. And so that now is kind of this dark cloud hanging over the offseason that awaits this team, and something that we'll have to sort of monitor moving forward to see how they combat those comments, and if they take what Myles is saying to heart and do put that at the forefront of their minds when they try to navigate this dicey situation they're in from a roster standpoint. So, it adds a little extra pressure on an offseason filled with questions, and how those questions are obviously going to be answered coming up. But Myles Garrett seems to want some clear answers on those things himself. Off topic from Myles Garrett specifically, although I guess somewhat on topic because he was dealing with a back injury this week that kept him out of practice on Thursday. He was back at practice today. Other injury notes, you got designations for 4 guys this weekend. Cedric Tillman, David Njoku, and MJ Emerson all listed as questionable. For Emerson and Tillman, obviously dealing with the concussion protocol, trying to navigate that. Haven't made it through yet, so they are still questionable. We'll see if they're available Sunday. Also, Njoku questionable. He has a hamstring issue. Last week, he did not practice all 3 days and then didn't play. This week, he did not practice the first 2 days, was limited today on Friday. So that maybe bodes well for him being out there and being another weapon for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We shall see. Only player ruled out to this point, defensive tackle Shelby Harris, is dealing with a elbow injury. So that's going to do it for me from Berea, wrapping things up on a Friday. I know it's a little later in the day than usual. Myles, we got the Myles press conference in a little bit later than normal, so felt like it was a important nugget to hit on, obviously, as well, given the context and what he said. And you can find more content like this. We'll have Myles' entire press conference up for you over at the Cleveland Browns on SI YouTube channel. And, of course, stick around here on Sunday or check back in on Sunday for our pregame hit, our postgame conversation, and much, much more. It's all available to you through the Cleveland Browns on SI. And be sure to check out the website as well, where I got a story up about Myles' comments on things, and you can kind of read through more of what he had to say at the Cleveland Browns on SI or si.com/NFL/Browns. We appreciate you guys following along as always. We appreciate you guys being part of the Cleveland Browns and SI family. Keep on following along for all things Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns on SI.